It's Dr. Donahue. Welcome to another day of Health Mastery for Leaders. Jess and I 100% apologize. We are a few minutes late. We were trying to get tech under control with StreamYard. So we appreciate all of you that are going to show up for your lunch hour. And I'm going to let Jess go ahead and take it away and introduce herself. Most of you have probably seen her on prior interviews, and I'm just so grateful to have her back. So Jess, tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you for having me back. It's so great to talk to you and your community. Yeah, so I guess we got together, I think that was a year ago. And a lot has changed in my world, and I'm sure in the worlds of all of your patients and anyone viewing this. It's been a wild time for all of us. So here's my very brief background. I am an osteopathic physician that has been trained in the fields of pain management, musculoskeletal medicine, and osteopathy. Up until 2020, I had my own private practice where I used a biodynamic osteopathic, that's kind of like cranial osteopathy approach, combined with regenerative medicine techniques to help people's musculoskeletal systems come back online. So my techniques were very East meets West, basically, up until 2020, where I used modern regenerative medicine combined with really ancient healing, hands-on healing osteopathy, which is a form of, for those of you who don't know, an osteopathic physician is someone who goes to medical school but graduates with the credentials of DO, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine, versus MD, which is medical doctor or Doctor of Allopathic Medicine. So it's a really fun way to learn about the insides of the body with hands-on healing modalities that we get infused with as medical students. So we learn all the other medical stuff that any other doctor will learn. But from the very beginning of medical training, we learn how to put our hands on patients and realign the tissues and the organs and the bones and the ligaments and the joints and all of it so that the health can come back online in our bodies, right? We know that this is true. So my osteopathic practice in 2020 transitioned into an energetic practice. And the reason for that was because we went into a pandemic. And all of a sudden, I had this huge practice of people that I had been working with for years, and I couldn't touch them anymore. So I learned how to translate my skills. My hands-on treatments got more subtle as the years passed. And so what would happen a lot of times is often I would find my hands just kind of hovering above people's bodies. And I didn't really know why that was happening. But when that happened inside of a treatment, when someone was lying on my table, their experience, their therapeutic experience was magnified. And that blew my mind. So that was kind of the beginning of my transition. And as years passed in my private practice, I started to wake up to the energetic systems of the body as the real root cause for really all dis-ease in our bodies. And the final frontier of that dis-ease is the physical body. So the very short version of a long story is that for the past 3 years, I have been working within the tissues of people's bodies, my own, and treating and healing groups of people because on the energetic level, we all connect to the one source, which is pure love. We are divine, intelligent beings made of the same energy, and we are swimming in an etheric ocean, a field of energy that connects all of us. So distance healing is real. And when I take my lens as an osteopathic physician and I direct it into the energetic field, the healing that's available is a lot more specific and it's very deep. It goes all the way down to the root. So what this means for you is that I teach people how to do this in their own bodies. And actually, that was how I started teaching this, because my own hands guided me back to some areas of my body that were having a really hard time getting well. I had been run over by a car when I was 4, and I had pelvic pain and left sacroiliac joint dysfunction that so many people had been trying to help me with over the years. And until I started to do my own healing on myself, the healing that I received from other people was limited. I got better, but then the pain would come back. And I was seeing that same pattern in all my patients. So in 2020, all of a sudden I started to feel, and this is our birthright, by the way, we are made of electromagnetic energy, and we don't have a lens for that because we are programmed to think that we're matter, that we're solid, that we're dense, when in fact we have very dense collections of energy that are magnetic. And so when we start to tune into this, right? We all know that there's an energetic field around the body. We all know that the heart releases electrical conductivity. We pick that up in an EKG. We all know that the brain delivers electrical impulses through the body. We can study that in an EEG. What we don't yet know is that we have our own healing capacities, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So
Yeah, and I love that because, if you really listen to Jess, when areas of the body are blocked and can't move, this is really like the simplification without giving all of our, I call it medical jargon that so many get confused about. At the end of the day, when something is blocked, whether it's through Jess's knowledge of moving it with the energy with your hands, we're moving it with acupuncture needles, we're moving it with chiropractic adjustments, or you're, removing toxicity from the body. At the end of the day, what she's saying is we're all working on balancing the body and removing blockages that are actually stopping us from healing. And if you listen to her carefully, we can get rid of our pain, but it's being ready to release the pain and seeing the right practitioner for that emotional, physical sort of blockage, if I can say, for it to be released. So like I spoke with you about, this month is all about gut health. So I've been picking up, which you were on the summits prior, but it's been really working where we do one kind of overarching sort of system. And the goal for this month is gut health. So if you could speak into your set around that, what that looks like, and how you would work around imbalances and gut, whatever that looks like, because at the end of the day, we know the body's imbalanced when we're throwing symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that, Holly, so much. And I'm so glad that you're out there helping people, because who doesn't have gut imbalance with just living on this planet right now? We are being immersed in so many more pollutants than we ever have before. So our guts are really having a hard time. And if you're lucky, you don't have any gut symptoms, or maybe they're just quiet, right? We all have them, regardless of whether they're overt or they're not. Our guts, our microbiomes do suffer. So I want to take us into the body in an energetic way and talk for a second about voltage, because it's really important that we get this. Okay. Healthy digestion and having a gut microbiome that is going to function in a really healthy way has to do with how much energy do you have that's supplying the immune system and the gut microbiome, which, by the way, takes up about 2/3 of your energetic supply. It's a very expensive, digestion is an incredibly expensive metabolic function of your body. And so, we have all of these beautiful ways now that we can start talking about intermittent fasting and multiple day fasting. Why does that work? It's because we're no longer using the energy, the voltage for digesting the food. Instead, we're actually using that same energy to digest our bodies through a process called autophagy, right? And so when we don't eat for long periods of time, and Holly, I don't know if you talk about fasting. I personally am an intermittent faster because of this reason. I know that we have a certain amount of energy that pulses through our bodies in any one day, and we have to start talking about where are we using those energetic stores. Okay, so as far as healthy gut, we love good food, healthy food, organic, local, really clean water sources, taking your supplements when you have some vitamin or mineral deficiencies in your body. And that's what I call an external approach to gut health. So where I go is, let's go inside and out, and then we meet in the middle, right? It's kind of this, like, I love to kind of sandwich health on all sides, because we don't actually talk about the energetic part of it, which is everything. It's everything. So the third energy center is found in the upper part of your abdomen. If you are into the chakra system, that's called the solar plexus. Now, I go way deeper than chakras, because what we're just going to talk about, the general term that I like to use, just because it's really universal, is energy center. Okay. So your whole body is connected to a central channel of energy that goes all the way down to the earth. And it has this limitless flow of energy that's rising up through your body, right through the pelvis. It brings that energy into the first energy center, which sits, or chakra, that's your root chakra, right? It sits at the base of your pelvis, and then you go up to the next one, that's the second energy center. Some people call that the sacral chakra. Again, these are beyond energy centers. But when we get up to the third center, okay, the solar plexus, they call that house of 1,000 suns. That's like your center of like power,
Yes.
right? Fire, digestive fire. And so when you look at this from the map, the anatomic map, going all the way down to the energetic level, that third energy center feeds a plexus of nerves called the celiac plexus, okay? The celiac plexus feeds pretty much all of your digestive organs. On the left side, your stomach, your spleen, part of your pancreas, your left adrenal, your left kidney. On the right side, you have your gallbladder, your liver, your right adrenal, your right kidney, and the upper 2/3 of your entire digestive tract, upper and lower, large and small intestine. So this third energy center is really pivotal in talking about healthy gut, because if there's an energetic blockage somewhere, and the cool thing about the work that I do now is that I work inside of the body, but I also work inside of the field of energy that immediately surrounds your body and encompasses your body by about 6 feet. It's called your human biofield. And in your human biofield, some people might call that an aura, but when we get really fancy schmancy and like technical, and which I won't do here, but scientific, this is actually science, right?
Yeah.
We are made entirely of biophotons, which means that our cells communicate at light speed. Our cells use these biophotons. They get emitted from every single cell, and they communicate with one another by these little particles of light. So your cells have light speed communication in addition to biochemical communication, which is those hormones and those proteins that are released via your bloodstream. And so the reason I'm bringing this in is this. Inside your biofield there are also biophotons out there. And that's part of your energetic system that supports you in aiding in energetic digestion, okay? So let's just make it really human for a second. When we start to unpackage, when we start to learn about ourselves as these beings that have neurology that fires the gut, but what fires the nerves?
Right.
It's the energy that we're made of. And where is that energy flowing from? Earth and source. It's limitless. So we are literally connected, hooked in via voltage. Like, think of your body as being its own battery, okay? The battery, the positive pole of that battery is the sun, and the negative pole of the battery is the earth. When you have energy running up and down through your channel, you're charging the inner central channel. When you charge the inner central channel, you feed each and every energy center. And then you create an electromagnetic field, just like the sun, just like the moon, just like our atmosphere, right? Around your body, and that's called a torus. That's a biofield. Now, when you move yourself back into a place, we're going to talk about how you would do this, but when you go back into your body, maybe on a daily basis, which is what I highly recommend for everybody getting started, and start to clear out this kind of gunk in the stream, what ends up happening is you start to digest those parts of you that have just been lying in stagnation in standing waveform, either in your body, somewhere in the distribution. We're just talking about this third energy center because we're talking about the gut.
Yeah.
So these energy centers feed the nerve plexi that feed the organ systems, and it's all energetic at that root level. So when you start to work inside of the body on an energetic level, you clear out whatever's in standing wave form, which is pure potential energy. When you bring that energy back into circulation, which is what I do, this is how I help people. It's a lot to teach, but just to get a concept, right? You have the capacity, we all have the capacity to reclaim that energy that's either sitting somewhere stuck in the body or in the corresponding field part. And that's a big part. The biofield has so much of our stored energy that got in there from any past feeling or emotion that we haven't felt all the way through, okay? Anything we've shoved under the carpet in our lifetime, anything we've stuffed or compartmentalized, it hangs out in the field. It doesn't go away.
Right.
It kind of leeches off of your energy because you're feeding it.
Yeah.
So we don't want to feed the energy that's stuck. We want to bring that stuck energy back into the body. And what then happens is your overall resting voltage goes up. the voltage that you need to fire your gut. So that's why we have to kind of go into that conversation, which is it's deep, right? We have this limitless supply of energy. And when our body is flowing, when all the energy centers are open and uncongested, it opens up healthy energetic digestion, which opens up healthy physical digestion. And then we don't have these pathogens overtaking our gut, right? We actually have the energy to supply healthy gut flora. And we have a chorus of a synchronous, we are supposed to be symbiotically living beings. And in nature, we are, right? But when we have these imbalances, when our voltage goes low, it's like having algae on the surface of a river.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the water kind of murky and it slows down the flow of that water. But when we clean up the algae by getting these standing energetic waves out of circuitry, out of your body, clear your circuits, you are a stream of pure potential, right? The energies flow so clearly, and things that you eat just go right through because you actually have the digestive fire, the energy to be able to do this. So it's a really cool way to look, because when we got trained as doctors, we just talked about the physiology down to the level of matter.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people are still having difficulty with gut health despite taking the supplements, despite seeing you as often as they might need to, right? You're an incredible practitioner and we're so grateful to have you and others like you. But from my lens, there's been a huge missing link in the medical system. And this isn't hocus pocus woo woo stuff I'm talking about. This is science, right? Biophotons are measurable. And where these biophotons are stuck in your body or in your field are measurable. We have to use schmancy devices that are really subtle to measure it. But just like we can measure the electrical impulse of your heart and your brain, we can actually measure the electrical conductivity of your body and your field at the level of the biophoton. And here's the cool part. It's us. We have tools, and I think we were going to go into that, Holly. Some really kind of, to just bring this home and make it really practical. What I love to teach people are some really simple ways to begin the process of helping themselves to restore gut health by bringing their overall resting voltage states back up again.
Yeah.
So it's helpful just to know that the gut is the most energetically taxing part of your body, which is really an important thing for you to know, because it makes it so that it's not just about the supplement. It's not just about the lifestyle, right? It's about how are you actually clearing out your system to bring up your overall resting energetic voltage.
Do you all hear how, like, Jess is talking about the importance of digestion and gut? Like, I really want to get that hit home, and how much energy that your body actually uses to digest and absorb and assimilate nutrients, so that you can now use those nutrients for energy in the body. And here she's talking about clearing and opening and making sure the energy is there and the biophotons are balanced. But the other key also is, if your digestion is off, and we know it's off, or there's gut symptoms, like, the importance of getting that balanced isn't just because we want to, I mean, even if we look at absorption nutrients on a gut GI panel, what Jess is talking about is that's important, but also cleaning out, like, the energy in the gut and getting it balanced. And there's so much emotion in the gut,
Yeah.
So if you want to talk a little bit about that, like, I don't actually even look at my brain as like the prior, like there's a reason for gut healing and gut feeling, right? And that intuition, I feel like our gut drives our brain more than our brain drives our gut. But I don't know that A, we talk about this enough, or B, as medical practitioners, do we have that research that everybody wants to look at? But if you want to speak a little bit about that, because living in that sympathetic state, like we're all doing, even prior to the pandemic, and even now in that fear state, you can't get into that, which she's talking about, that grounded rest and digest piece. How many people are, like, grabbing their food and eating on the run? Do you think that coincides with what Jess is talking about here? So if you want to take it one step, like, higher from the brain gut, so people can really get that connection energetically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. Ah, you get it. Yeah. I mean, it's so massive what's happened here. So, we're all fighting this invisible battle outside of our bodies. And so our adrenals, which are also supplied, by the way, by that third energy center, our adrenals are constantly pumping out adrenaline at low levels.
Yeah.
And they're creating low levels of chronic stress that just become a resting baseline for most people. Most people are fueling themselves with caffeine and sugar, waking up exhausted, and that's adrenal fatigue. What is adrenal fatigue? Adrenal fatigue is like your adrenals, they're energy, everything's energy in our bodies, right? So think about your adrenals having, they're like a running faucet or a running toilet. It's a great analogy for that. So, after a while, that running toilet, you won't hear it running. And so that's what's really going on in our bodies. When we are in a state of sympathetic overdrive or, chronic low levels of stress, what happens there in the body energetically is it creates disharmony. There's energy that's going outward. Okay, because you're constantly surveilling the outer environment. That's what's going on in the energetic system. You're constantly surveilling the outer environment for some threat that doesn't even exist. But your body, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I don't know what I don't really know what I'm fighting, right? You're just in that chronic low level fear of this thing that might be coming your way. Okay, your gut requires a parasympathetic, coherent, calm state. So that, and really what's going on is all the energy is going from the outer projected world to the inner environment of your gut. So sympathetic means outward directed energy. Parasympathetic, rest and digest, is inward directed energy, right? The vagus nerve is responsible for calming us down and for delivering. The vagus nerve, by the way, is responsible for the gut-brain axis. So there is way more information, sensory nerve impulses that travel up. 90%, by the way. 90% of the impulses that we have to surveil the environment travel from the gut to the brain, okay, as opposed to in the opposite direction. So when we can turn ourselves back into feeling beings as opposed to thinking beings, intuition is a gut phenomenon. But we have to get the energy there to turn back on that vagus parasympathetic nervous system so that we actually have a coherent nervous system that will then send that information back to the brain. And then we get to live our lives with synchronicities and intuitions. And I feel myself going in this direction. And then we can actually use intuition, which is an energetically fueled system, a higher cognitive state that is fueled by the energy through our gut. And when we intuitively feel our way through lives, we know what we are supposed to be eating that is in alignment with our health. We know how we're supposed to be moving our bodies or not. We know how we're supposed to be communicating or what direction we're supposed to be going in that day. And when it's time to run appropriately, because we literally are being chased by a tiger, or rest because, wow, I'm exhausted and it's time for me to, power down. When we lose the gut-brain axis, we lose intuition. We lose the connection to our true body, actually. So I think personally that the third energy center, which supplies energy to each organ system specifically, I love talking about the liver, for example. So let's get really specific for a second. So each organ system has its own personality, and it stores a backlog of energies, emotional energies of a specific frequency. So your liver's, I think, the most powerful digestive organ that we have. It's the sentinel of the digestive organs, right? It kind of commands the army. It's a filter. It's responsible for immunity. It's responsible for filtering your blood, for detoxifying your body. Really important. And when we are young, we filter our emotions through the liver as well. So for our kids and let's say our father, the right side is the father side. And a lot of people I know, myself included, had a really hard time with our father relationship. My father died when I was 4. So there's a lot of emotion that got stored in that part of my body and in the bodies of so many of the people that I work with. The energy that gets stored there, this is fascinating, Holly. Now, I know we don't have a ton of time, but the energy that gets stored, not just in the liver, but just in the field outside the liver, is actually anger.
Mm.
Anger from having, parents who did the best that they could, right? But they just weren't there. Our dads, so many of our dads were kind of checked out, or they were the providers. They were never there. They didn't provide the nurturing. And so as a little being who wants nothing more than to feel the love, unconditional love and support of both of our parents, if for some reason your father wasn't in your life, all of that anger gets turned inward, and it becomes sadness and depression. And so when we start to work through the backlog of these emotional energies, and a lot of the people that have a lot of past emotional wounding around the father, turn to what are oftentimes called liver pacifiers, alcohol, drugs, and sugar, to calm the fires of that really inferno rage, that fire liver, the fiery energy that gets stored in and just outside of the liver. And the reason I'm talking about this is because the liver holds the most potential energy for digestion than any other organ system in your body. So when we start to work through, it's my partner Claire is an intuitive emotional healer, and we work together for this reason. Because when I start to work in helping people get back to connected to the energies that are in the body that are not moving very well, or in the field just outside the body, what ends up happening is some of those emotional energies, they have to come back through so that we can digest them, which means we feel those things again. And a lot of people at the beginning are like, whoa, that was good. I was good, right? I got through childhood. I'm a functional adult now, but my gut doesn't work. Why, right? My body's breaking down, but I'm fine. So we have to bring the emotions into the conversation, because it's energy that's stuck in your field. That's why. When we start to comb those energies back into the body, we bring them back in. We're just using the liver as an example. And so what I help people understand is how to get that energy, those biophotons in your field, back into the liver, and integrate it back into the cells of the liver. So now we've got energy from the field integrating into the cells of your liver. Together, they transmute, meaning they change that standing stagnant form of energy, and the whole thing dissolves and goes into your body. Your body actually evolves and expands and integrates. Now all that energy is coming back into digestion, and you might feel some things.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, because the thing is, it never goes away.
Right.
And so the physical, and that's why I want to bring in this emotional, right? Our emotions get stored in the gut. And that's one example, that was one very specific organ example of how that works from the framework that I've been using. And it's been so powerful. In fact, it's almost like, get ready. If you really want healing to happen, it's amazing and it's powerful, and it's a big healing experience, because when we start to do this work, we finally get to feel these things back through. And on the other side of that, we heal. But until we start to face our physical bodies at the level of the emotional energies that are not moving through it, healing can happen, but it's never going to be as complete as when we start to integrate back in these stagnant emotional energies in the field. So it's a really big thing that we're talking about right now, Holly. It's a complete paradigm shift, actually. And I did not learn any of this in medical school. It was because I became a pain management specialist who was trained to give opiates to my patients. And I just watched people perish under my care, and I knew I couldn't let that happen. Yeah. And so I just kept following this guidance that was coming through me to help people in a different way. And here we are all these years later, and this is what I have discovered to date. I know it'll continue to evolve and change and grow. And, there's more. I learn more, it seems, almost every day as I heal. So I'm doing this work inside of myself. And as a result of that, I'm watching healing happen. And it's mostly the emotional stuff, actually. Yeah. I can't tell you how traumatized we've all been here. We are all traumatized. Even if you've had the most incredible upbringing, we just, by being on this planet and having ancestors that were really wounded, we're a part of that sea. We're all connected in that way. And so right now, what we're seeing since the pandemic is, I think, a big resurgence of these kinds of conversations. People are starting to realize that, whoa, that stuff that I didn't really want to look at, I don't seem to be able to get away from anymore. What do I do?
Yeah.
It's big stuff. It's really cool. It's a cool time for healing, because there's just so much more energy on the planet, actually, that's supporting us in doing this deeper healing work that so many of us haven't really wanted to do, or maybe we just didn't know how. And now I'm seeing a growing number of people who are hitting a critical mass in their lives of suffering states. And they're reaching out, right? They're finding me and they're finding my partner, Claire. And we are Centers for Energetic Healing. This is the work that we do there. It's both the emotional healing and the energetic healing, and we can't separate them. They have to go together because emotions are energy that are stuck.
Right. And I love what Jess is saying here. Like, how many of you, of my patients, or even people that listen to us on the online space that are interested in working with one of us, I, from the get-go, never want you to come to my clinic and sit down and give me all your symptoms. Your symptoms are what's important.
Mm-hmm.
But really what is important is your imbalances and your feelings. Like, how many practitioners will sit down and say, check in with your feeling. How are you feeling? Yet you so easily would wake up in the morning and not feel great and be like, oh, because people are more aware now. Oh, it's probably because I drank that alcohol or I ate that sugar.
Right.
But what were you masking when you were actually doing that? And that's why so many of us, like what Jess and I do, are saying feeling and mind can be stopping your healing. And you not even realize energetically how important that is unless you see one of us as a practitioner. Or like, I'm limited as well. Like, I refer out or I find somebody that can support you there. So the physical state is important.
Yeah.
But with this conversation, neither one of us can stress how important the emotional piece is, like the ancestral piece, how you were brought up. Even though your parents did the best they could, there were still things that you needed that you couldn't even ask for up until the age of 7, where your subconscious was set in.
Absolutely.
Right. So like with Jess losing her father at 4, she was still building her subconscious. And that's why so many of us that are really connected to your healing are also connected to your emotional healing and your energetic healing. Like, it's so key.
It's so key. And I feel like, I just want to say this. It's the greatest gift that you will ever give yourself, because I see the resistance. I feel, this is what I feel is going on here. I feel like before 2020, life was different. It was easier. We could be fragmented and we could compartmentalize a lot easier than we can now. There's a big, huge, beautiful thing that's happening on the planet, and we're getting different. It's new energy. It's, for those of you that are into astrology, this is Pluto in Aquarius. So Aquarian energy is unity. It's one. It's, for those of you that do yoga, yoga is it's the union of the masculine and the feminine. It's the yin and the yang. It's that one, that unification of love inside. And so when we go out and we do our healing things by taking in information and supplements and doctor's appointments and get that help from the outside, that's a more divine masculine approach to healing. But which is really important, right?
Yeah.
And so when we go into our bodies and we start to feel these things through, I give people very specific energetic tools and a framework. I teach programs because this is your birthright. You are designed to do this work inside. And actually, there's nobody else who's more powerful at being able to bring your body back into balance than you are. It's just our programs, our subconscious programming. We all got programmed by this old paradigm way of healing, which is when you're sick, you go to your doctor.
Yeah.
That's actually not the way anymore. When I get sick, I go to myself. I have tools. I had COVID a few weeks ago, and it was amazing what I was able to do without, there was no fear in my body. It was just, whoa, my body's so congested. And I started working in the lymphatics energetically. And it was an incredible opening. It was an upgrade. My body came out of that feeling better, as a matter of fact. Long COVID symptoms never even entered my mind as a possibility, right? Because I know my body so well now. I know how powerful it is. I know how much more energy I can get access to by actually taking action. So I just wanted to say that, this is a new time where we're learning. I feel this is a real inversion of the power dynamics that we've had, right? So in the past, the medical system told us what to do, where to go, and how to jump. That's not enough anymore. And I don't want to downplay the role of our medical providers. I mean, both of us are medical providers, and thank God for that,
Right.
because we do need those supports. It's very important. It's just not complete. It's not a complete package for healing. It's part of it, and it's a very important part of it. But this yin and yang, this balance of divine feminine, divine masculine, is where you take ownership of your own health. The feminine energies are the emotional energies. The masculine energies are the physical body, your nervous system, your wires, your electrical impulses through your body. That's masculine. So when you combine the emotional work in with the energetic work, you have yoga, you have union, you have unity consciousness inside of your own system. And you know what happens to your body and your cells, all 50 trillion cells, they start to sync together again.
Yeah.
Right? When we're in chronic, bringing it back to that adrenal fatigue, like when we're in chronic states of stress, when our body is constantly leaching energy outward because we think that we're under some kind of an assumed threat, which is not real, our body goes into disharmony and ultimately it breaks down.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough energy to support our basic function. Right? And that process is chronic, low levels of stress and metabolic syndrome.
Right. Yeah. And if you hear Jess, really all the touts that we talk about, you have the ability to heal yourself. However, you have to give and you get to give your body what it needs in order to do that. And then this is the other emotional piece that you get to work through. So it's, if you go and work with Jess and she's working with you on, energy and letting go of ancestral and familial, but you're going to keep dumping sugar and acid and inflammation, it can still happen, but it's much tougher. So eating that, like she mentioned in the very beginning, organic food, clean beefs and fishes and not processed foods and not dyes and not high amounts of sugar, we're only teaching your body how to heal itself at the end of the day. We're getting to the root cause of where the challenges are. I may be doing it with supplement herbs and tinctures and supporting you, but I just really want to hit home before we close here how important emotional healing is. Like how important of you waking up and saying like, how do I feel today?
Mm-hmm.
And not go on that like overdrive, like I have to do 50 billion things and I feel like garbage, right? Because that feeling like garbage is just going to stress your adrenals. Like Jess was talking about, it's going to get you right into that circle. And then lastly, how important the gut is to not only the connection to the brain and the emotions, and like she was talking about, but also the gut feeling, that gut connection to, does this feel right? Does this not feel right? But if the gut is inflamed, then that's so challenging to do. And you're not getting the right signals from the brain to the gut.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that. And the other thing about just, the gut brain axis is that a lot of people think that, the power of positive thinking and the law of attraction, these are honestly older paradigm ways of circumnavigating the brain, the thoughts. What we're talking about is that everything begins from the bottom level up. Right. So the gut is a huge, think of the gut as being like your energetic supply for your whole body. That third energy center that supplies your gut, the house of 1,000 suns. I mean, it is so powerful. You could literally light a whole city with the energy that comes through your gut, really. And so when you unleash that energy in its most pure form, you feel empowered.
Mm-hmm.
You feel better. You feel like you can take on the world in the most incredible ways. Creative energy is your second center, right? That's the lower gut. That's feelings, I think, really are, there's a huge library of unfelt feelings from your past that get stuck outside and inside the areas around your second and your third energy centers. When you start to move that energy back through again, what happens is you don't carry that frequency of I'm a bad person, which is second center. Guilt and shame sits off of the right side of the second center. Right? We talked about anger sitting off the right side. This is all Chinese medicine. They've known this forever. Okay? This is real because I can feel it. When we start to bring that energy back in by doing our energetic work and then feeling it through with the emotional work, which are, hand in hand, they go together. what ends up happening is we don't carry that low level subconscious program that Holly was talking about. We all get programmed during those first 7 years of our lives to think we're bad people.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we start to move those energies through that are actually creating that low hum in the background of your mind that you're not even aware of, you might feel so unworthy all the time, because most people do, or have that fear of failure or fear of whatever, because you have energy sitting in your field that's creating that frequency and dissonance in your system. So when we start to move that back through the body again, guess what happens to your thinking?
Yeah.
It clears up. So it's really it's a bottom up approach to healing. We have to feel our way into better thinking. Now there's brain work to be done for sure, right? We have to, mantras are amazing, positive affirmations are amazing. But if all we're doing is catching our brains and having a gratitude practice, which is amazing, right? These are all incredible tools, but they're empty without working on the gut and getting the energy back through the body that allows us to feel what we're thinking is real. Right? If we don't feel it first, then your body's going to be like, whatever. Okay, that's a great thought, but what's behind it? There's nothing behind it. Then you've got to have a gratitude list going throughout your body all day, every day, which nobody can do.
Right.
So it's working with the feelings first, the energies and the emotions first, and then that energy rises to your brain, and all of a sudden your brain starts thinking different thoughts. You start having expanded awareness and you're like, oh my God, I'm incredible. What I can do is amazing. Wow, my gut's getting better. So healing on the physical body is the final frontier of this work, right? But then in the meantime, we have Holly and we have all of these practitioners out there. What an incredible thing. I take no supplements, by the way, 0. I don't have any gut issues.
Yeah.
Right? I actually don't even have any physical issues anymore. I had a lot of them, like chronic pain forever. Until 3 years ago when I started doing my own work, and, pain comes and it goes. It doesn't go away. Like, we have bodies and we are in pain at times, but to know how to work with it is so incredible. And the gut is no exception to that.
And, we also want to share with like Jess doing the work. She's just not off of supplements or herbs. She's getting all of her nutrition from the earth, and she's really balancing that out. So I just want to, make that clear, just coming off supplements if you do energy work. But when you're doing quality work, and even when you're working with me, I'm slowly wanting you off of supplements, off of herbs, off of homeopathy. And many of you hear me saying that. And that's like so important. I mean, I take minimal, but we now know how to work. Like since doing this, since I was 18 years old, personally, we now know what works.
Yeah.
And we show up and do that lifestyle every single day, whether we're away, whether we're here, whether we're, and if we go a day or two without the proper nutrients, we have our body set up that it can do that.
Exactly.
Many of you don't have it set up, so you're already in the weakened state, and then you weaken even more when you don't feed the body the fuel that it needs.
Bingo. We're at a time now. There's a term out there called a breatharian. And a breatharian is literally somebody. Now this is like, a very evolved human state. But I'm wondering how many people who are listening to this have found themselves having different changes with their appetites.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is, lately the energy on the planet has been pretty extreme. Last night we had a powerful full moon, and there's just a lot of, we're in eclipse season now, and things just feel different. I don't sleep as much as I used to. My eating habits have changed. I can fast for a really long period of time without getting hungry.
Yeah.
And food is medicine. So we love our food. And I do want to thank you for bringing it back to the supplements. I have taken many supplements in the past, and I think that supplements are something that, the word is appropriate. They are there to supplement proper health and nutrition. But what an incredible goal to work inside of your body so that maybe you can come down off of some of those supplements. And there's no shame in having supplements in your body. In fact, I think because we have so many more pollutants in the soils and the water and the air, that supplements actually are really important. And my body has said to me many times that it's just like, I'm complete without them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I won't reintroduce them at some point in time, or, I listen.
Yeah.
And there's an intuitive relationship there that's being asked. But, when we travel and when we have family discord and when we have work obligations and we have family demands and we have all these things, we can so easily go into a disempowered state of making an excuse to not take care of ourselves. And the truth is, the only one that's really suffering there is you, but then that feeds your family, that same level, that same energetic suffering pattern that's coming through you. If you're exhausted and you're feeding your family because you haven't fed yourself by taking care of yourself, then your family eats that food.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to I think that the more we can start to think about, where am I putting my energy right now?
Yeah.
If you take 10 minutes in the morning and you get into your body, and Joe Dispenza is someone I'd like to introduce, because he has this, if you just want to learn more about the energy centers, come to my website, of course. But if you want to just learn about it from someone who has tons of books and tons of guided meditations out there, he's one person. That's someone that taught me early on. I go way deeper than Joe.
Yeah.
But but there's so much information out there now for you to just start to play around with. Well, what does it mean if I take 10 minutes in the morning, or 15 minutes, or maybe even you can get like 20 minutes in the morning to set yourself up, like Holly was just saying, and then go about your routine and just see what that does for you and how you can feel more vital as the day goes on. Maybe you won't feel as exhausted during that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock slump that so many people have. It's amazing when I started doing this in myself. I went from being an 8-hour a night sleeper, drinking 2 cups of coffee a day, to I get now somewhere between 2 to 4. Maybe once in a while I'll get 6 hours of sleep, but my body doesn't need as much sleep anymore.
Right.
It just doesn't need as much food anymore.
Yeah.
The energy is always in circulation inside. And then when the gut clears out, then we intuitively know how much sleep we need, how much food we need, what kinds of food we need, what kinds of supplements we need, because we can then heal that relationship between ourselves, our inner selves, our higher level selves, our higher knowing states, and the human. That's really the one that's in need of this.
Yeah, so good. So I just thank you, Jess, again for just showing up and being the light around, the energy and the sensing and the healing, and really teaching people how do I really feel, and then moving that feeling and that sensation that you may not even realize that is stuck in your body, and quite frankly inhibiting you from healing. So taking all these layers of the healing approach is what I consider 100% self-care. And really briefly, I remember when I first saw a naturopath years ago, I was in my 20s, and he said, as you start to feel better, people are going to be around you. Your life is going to be easier. You're going to climb your job ladder because you're going to be more open and free. And that's how I kind of want to close this, because that's exactly what Jess is saying. In all the layers of what you're doing, as you heal, you're just more free.
Yeah.
And you're more present, and you're more grounded, and you're more connected. But you get to keep connecting to your heart and your gut center and your liver and all those pieces, and really ask quality questions like, how am I feeling? And if I'm not feeling my best, how do I get the support that I need to feel my absolute best? So please don't hesitate to reach out to Jess. Let me drop your email address, your website address in the chat for people that are listening afterwards as well.
Great. Yeah. So Centers for Energetic Healing.com. And that's centers with an S. All lowercase, one word.
Yeah, so reach out to Jess. I'm sure she's happy to answer, any questions. We've had her, this is my second time we've had her on, and I just, she's not far from me, though we've never met in person. We need
to make it happen.
Online, right? It's crazy how our lives are so busy. But thanks again for showing up, Jess, and just doing this work, because every person that we touch, it's like a ripple effect.
Absolutely. That's how this works. And Holly, right back at you. You are such a bright light for all those that get to be in your presence. So I feel really honored to be one of those people, and I really appreciate this time with you today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jess. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Health Mastery for Leaders. Whether you're on live with us or you're watching the recording, you know how to connect with each and every one of us. And I hope you have a beautiful day, and you get to continually heal on every single level: emotional, physical, and mental. And we'll all talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.